There was an old mansion on the outskirts of a small town, hidden away behind overgrown trees and a rusted iron gate. The townsfolk spoke of it in hushed whispers, referring to it as the Coldwell House. Yet, despite its eerie reputation, no one feared the house itself. It was one room in particular that filled people with dread, a room on the second floor, tucked away at the end of a long, narrow corridor. For decades, no one had dared to enter that room. They said it was cursed. The last family who lived in the house had disappeared without a trace, except for the youngest daughter, Amelia. She was found in the room, clutching a ragged doll, her eyes wide with terror. When the police questioned her, all she could say was, "It watches," from the corner. She was sent to a mental institution, never to recover. After that, the room was locked, and the house abandoned. The key to that room was thrown away, yet the townsfolk still felt uneasy, as if something from the room could reach out and pull them in if they got too close. Years passed, and a group of teenagers, eager for a thrill, decided to break into the house. They had heard the stories about the haunted room and dared each other to go in. Armed with flashlights and bravado, they crept through the decaying mansion, its floorboards groaning beneath their feet. As they reached the second floor, the air grew heavy and cold, almost suffocating. The narrow hallway leading to the room seemed to stretch endlessly, as if the mansion itself wanted to swallow them whole. At the end of the hall stood the door, black and worn, with deep scratches marring its surface. One of the boys, Derek, reached out to open the door. "It's just a stupid old room," he muttered, trying to hide his fear. The others stood behind him, their eyes wide, breaths shallow. As his hand touched the doorknob, the temperature dropped, and a soft whisper echoed from within the room. "Come in." Derek hesitated but turned the knob anyway. The door creaked open, revealing a dark, musty space. The room was empty, except for a single chair in the corner, facing the wall. A thick layer of dust covered everything, and the air reeked of mildew. Yet, something was off. The shadows seemed to move, twisting and swirling unnaturally, as if they were alive. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them. Panic set in as they tried to pry it open, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, filling their heads with a sense of dread. "It watches," from the corner. One of the girls, Sarah, pointed to the chair. It had turned around. Slowly, ever so slowly, it was now facing them. A dark, twisted figure sat in it, barely visible in the dim light. Its eyes glowed faintly, a sickly yellow, staring at them with an intensity that chilled them to the bone. Derek backed away, but as he did, the figure stood up, tall and impossibly thin. It took a step forward, its shadowy form stretching across the room like a black cloud. The whispers turned to screams, shrill and deafening, coming from every direction. The teens scrambled to escape, but the door remained shut. The walls began to close in, as if the room itself were alive, hungry for them. Sarah screamed as cold, bony fingers wrapped around her ankle, dragging her toward the corner. And then, silence. The next morning, the townsfolk found the door to the Coldwell house ajar. Inside, they discovered the teens huddled together in the corner of the haunted room, eyes wide, faces pale, and lips frozen in silent screams. They were never the same after that night, forever haunted by the figure in the corner, the one no one dared to enter. And to this day, the room remains locked. But if you listen closely, you can still hear the whispers, beckoning anyone brave enough to enter. "Come in."